The food industry would like for you to have is confusion or cognitive dissonance. What they'd like to have is you just give up and simply eat what they sell you. They would like to keep you on the captive diet. But remember what the captive diet did to the elephants, and remember what it's currently doing to us in the Western world. 1 in 3 people dead from heart disease, 1 in 3 people dead from cancer, and about 1 in 4 people, I want to say, maybe it's the 4th highest cause of death in Canada, America, and I think also in Britain, is something called iatrogenic death, which basically means medical error. All right, so I want to be really clear that we are in a major healthcare crisis, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are off our diet. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing over the next several weeks is slowly transitioning us onto the human diet as close as we can. We'll talk about food sensitivities, and we'll talk about some of the differences between people. The core thing, though, is we're going to make sure that we're getting enough of the good stuff that we need. And here's why. One of the principles of WildFit, one of the fundamental principles of WildFit is this. It is far more important to get enough of the good stuff than to eliminate the bad stuff. You see, most diets are like, cut out these 7 foods to achieve this, or you got to not have these foods, or you got to eliminate that food. Look, there's truth in all of that. But far more important than that is that you get enough of the stuff your body needs. Let me give you an example. Let's imagine that we take a test subject, and we put them on a perfect diet. They're done, they're on a perfect diet. They get everything they need. But using science, we remove vitamin C from all their foods. So they're eating oranges, but with no vitamin C. They're eating all kinds of vegetables and fruits, but no vitamin C. So they're getting only good stuff, they're eating no bad stuff, but we've removed the vitamin C from their good stuff. What do you suppose will happen to them? Scurvy. They'll start having skin problems. Skin will break out, and if they continue, and into open sores, and then infections will set in, and they will die. They will die having never eaten refined sugar, having never eaten GMO, having never eaten any of the bad stuff. They'll still die because they're missing a key and important nutrient. And so that's going to be one of the core things that we focus on here, is improving our nutrition. I will say this to you, that over the next 3 months, you will boost, most of you. There are some of you who are already eating really, really well, and that's fine. Most of our clients will find that over the next 3 months, they boost their nutrition higher than it's probably been since they were a baby. And you will like the feeling of that. So that's the first principle, is we're going to focus heavily on diet, on food, on nutrition, on getting you nutritionally boosted. And of course, part of that will be eventually eliminating some of the things that do get in the way of health. Then the next big discussion we're going to have is on psychology. And that is, how are we going to help you to change your associations? How are we going to help you to get to a place where you do not have to use willpower to change the food decision process? Because willpower, let me describe willpower for you. People sometimes think of willpower as something they either have or they don't have. That's not how willpower works. Everybody has willpower. Willpower is more like a talking stick. So let me explain it like this. Imagine that you have like the food angel on one shoulder and the food devil on the other shoulder, right? Whoever's holding the talking stick has the willpower. So if the angel has the willpower, and usually the angel has the willpower for the first half an hour of January 1st, right? Like, I'm not eating this anymore, and I'm going to work out every day and all this stuff, and I'm handing over the willpower stick over to the angel. But the devil is going to use any excuse, any distraction possible to come over and bonk the angel and take the willpower and move over. And then willpower will get you to do all the stuff that the angel doesn't want you to do. So willpower is not effective because it's not a matter of whether you have it or not, it's a matter of who's holding the stick. And so what we're going to do is 2 really big things. One is we're going to do as best we can to make sure that the willpower stick goes over to the angel most commonly. And then here's the really tricky part. We're going to get the angel and the devil to start agreeing with each other. That's when it's really magical. Let me tell you about me. I used to not be able to walk past. 20 years ago, I could not walk past a table of chocolate chip cookies and oatmeal raisin cookies, especially if there was cinnamon involved. I couldn't walk past it. I couldn't. I could have just eaten a huge meal, and look, they're here, especially if they were free. I don't know what free food is about. I haven't need to worry about money for a long time in my life. But free food, man, it's right there. So I'm like, I might eat a big meal, I walk out, oatmeal raisin cookies? Well, let me tell you how I am today. It does not require any willpower for me whatsoever. It doesn't even cross my mind. I walk past them, there's not even a part of my mind that looks down and says, oh, I wish I could have those. That's what I want for you. I want you to get to a place where there are some foods where if you eat them, it's purely because you consciously decided to eat them, not because your unconscious devil bonked you over the head and made you eat them. Let me tell you a neat example. One of my clients was living in Sweden, and he did our program, and I saw him, I don't know, I want to say 6 or 8 months after he did the program. And his change was dramatic. I mean, really, really dramatic. And to give you an idea of the change that we're talking about, in his case, I think he lost in the realm of about 25 kilograms. He was extreme. He had a lot to lose. He then continued to lose weight after the program because he stuck with it because it's a lifestyle. But there's something else that changed for him that was pretty cool, and that was that he and his wife had been trying to get pregnant for about 9 years. 9 years they've been trying to get pregnant. And after going through the program, they got pregnant in a heartbeat. It was really simple and fast. Here's one of the keys, though. He had a problem, and his problem was with ice cream. Ice cream was really difficult for him, really difficult. Like if his wife sent him to the store to get, like juice for the kids and ice cream, he'd come back from the store with ice cream and maybe juice for the kids. And they already had ice cream in the freezer. Like he had a problem. But when I saw him in the audience, I kid you not, this is exactly what happened. I had my wallet with me and I had money in it, and I offered him $1,000 in cash to eat the ice cream. $1,000 in cash just to eat one bowl of ice cream, that's all. And he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. Now, I want you to think about that. Maybe that sounds not so special to you in this moment, but I want you to think about this. Most people, when they go on a diet, what kind of excuse do they need to break it? What kind of excuse do they need to make an exception, right? Here, I'll give you some examples. Here's some excuses. Oh, I had a rough day. Oh, I had such a hard day. I need a treat. Right? Or, I had the most incredible day. I was so productive today. I need to celebrate. Or, oh, a friend of mine, a friend of mine's dog passed away, and my dog passed away. It's raining outside, and it's so sunny. I mean, there's a million reasons that people break. But if he wouldn't break for $1,000, you think any of those other things are going to get to him? No. And that's why he's created lasting change, and that's what's in store for you. So, as I said, a core aspect of this program is we're going to talk about diet and nutrition, and we're going to talk about psychology. So, with all of that said, are you ready? Are you ready to make some change? Are you ready to make some serious changes? Are you nervous about making changes? Are you? Like, I want you to think right now. I know from having done this for thousands of people that there's one of a few emotions you might be having right now. The one is you might be having this emotion of fear, as in there are certain foods that you're afraid that I'm going to get you to give them up, and you've got attachment to them, and and probably even though you were told not to make any changes before the program started, you might have even, binged a little on it over the last few days. You might, what are those foods? What are those foods that you kind of feel a little scared about? And then there's another group of people, they're just excited. They're just looking for permission to make change. They work themselves up. In fact, again, even though we said make no changes in the lead up to the program, they already started being good before the program started. So we know there's a variety of different emotional experiences that come into this week, and I want you to think about those. And I want you to watch really carefully right now when I tell you the first changes we're making. I want you to notice the emotions you have and really pay attention to them right now. So here you go. Are you ready for the changes this week? Here they are. You are going to cut out nothing. You're not going to eliminate a single food. Not this week. You're not going to cut out a single thing. You're going to keep eating exactly the way you were eating before. How does that feel? It's not a trick. It's not a trick. That's what's happening this week. Now, I know from experience, here are the reactions that you're having right now. You're having one of these reactions. You could be having this reaction. One, you're so relieved. You're so relieved because you were scared and you were worried that I might take this away or take that away. Immediately, right now, if you have a pen around you or if you just want to think about it, I want you to think, what foods are you most relieved I didn't take away? Think about them because those are important to us future in the program here. Now, here's another reaction you might be having. Disappointment. It's like, but I'm ready. I want to make change. What do you mean no change? And you're disappointed. Good. Notice that. And some of you are just confused. You're like, I don't get it. I signed up for a health program and you're not asking me to make any changes. Good. No matter what your emotional reaction right now, it's perfect as long as you observe it. Really notice how it feels. Now, I didn't say there's going to be no changes. I said there's going to be no eliminations. You're to continue eating exactly the way you ate before. But I am going to ask you to make 2 changes. 2 changes this week. That's all. Actually, 3. All right, 3. And these are going to be the changes you make this week. The one is you're going to start drinking a lot more water. a lot more water. Like you want to be drinking somewhere between 6 and 8 glasses of water a day. If you're really tall, they should be tall glasses of water. If you're not so tall, they can be smaller glasses. But basically, you should be drinking 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, or even more. So you're going to massively boost your hydration. We're going to talk about why this is in a minute. But the short version is, most people in the Western world right now are dehydrated. They're walking the streets dehydrated, and we're going to talk about the danger of that and the advantage of getting fully hydrated. So change number 1 is you're going to drink 6 to 8 glasses of water every single day for this week. Sound good? All right. Change number 2 is you're going to breathe. I know you're already breathing. I know that. But you're going to breathe better, a couple times a day. Here's what I mean by this. So there's a quirky thing about our lungs. Our lungs were designed, obviously, to extract oxygen from the air we breathe and then provide us with that oxygen. And you have these little hairs in your lungs. And what's really odd is that the top part of your lungs has less of those hairs, less hair density, than the lower part of your lungs. Here's why that's important. Most people breathe up here all the time. They breathe shallow. And so that means is that they're breathing air in, and the air is going into the top part of their lungs where there's less little hairs for extracting the oxygen. And so they're not getting quite enough oxygen all day long. The funny thing is that when somebody takes a really deep breath, they take a really deep breath and they push air all the way down into the bottom part of their lungs, they get flooded with oxygen. In fact, sometimes they even feel a little dizzy from it. I'll tell you something, for those of you that smoke, you might be surprised to know that a big part of what you really enjoy about smoking is just simply taking deep breaths. Like, people who smoke, it's like, that's actually what feels good, whether the smoke's there or not. So breathing deeply is actually a really, really powerful and relaxing thing. It's also really fundamentally healthy. Here's another reason it's healthy. The reason that breathing in a shallow way doesn't give you so much oxygen is it's designed to stimulate adrenaline. In other words, if I go walking around and I walk around a corner and there's 2 lions on the ground, right? Am I going to take a nice deep breath, or am I going to breathe shallow? Let's try it out. Walk around the corner, there's the lion. Do I go, oh, look, a lion? No, I don't think so. I think I go, look, a lion. And the reason that we breathe like that is that it stimulates adrenaline so that we have the correct response and energy for that situation. The problem is most of us are breathing in the top parts of our lungs all the day, and so we're getting a lot of adrenaline most of the day. So what we're going to do this week is at least twice a day, you're going to do some deep breathing exercises. And I'm going to give you the structure of them right now. The structure of the deep breathing exercise is that you're going to count as you're breathing in, and you're going to breathe in for a count of 5. So you're simply going to go for a count of 5. And at the top, you're then going to hold for 5. So you're going to go. And then you're going to release for 5. And you're going to do that 5 times. So you're going to breathe in for 5, you're going to hold for 5, and then you're going to release for 5. And you're going to do it 5 times. We're going to do it once right now so you get the feeling of it. Are you ready? Here we go. Get ready to breathe in for 5. 1. And then you're going to do that 5 times. You're going to do it 5 times, twice a day. Once at the beginning of the day, I suggest first thing in the morning, and then once at the end of the day before you go to sleep. And if you're really a keener, like if you really want to jump in, you'll do it once in the middle of the day, just cause. So you're going to add in breathing. So the enhancements so far, you're going to drink 6 to 8 glasses of water, you're going to do the 5-5-5 exercise, and the last enhancement that we're going to make this week is observation. We're really going to pay attention. We're going to pay a lot of attention to why we eat, how we choose what to eat, and how eating makes us feel. That's what this week is going to be about. So when I say we're going to increase our observation, have you ever had the experience where maybe you're in an accident or you've dropped something and suddenly time just slows down? Like just for that moment, it just slows right down. In a sense, that's what we're going to do with our food decisions this week, is we're going to slow time down and pay attention to the way we eat, pay attention to the way we decide what to eat. And so I want you to recognize, I want you to know that there are some foods that you eat and some food decisions you make that are actually fueled by your emotions and not by your body. You already know this, but what we're going to do this week is get really, really conscious of it. Like, for example, what do you suppose happens to a child if the child is running along down the sidewalk and the child trips and falls and skins their knees, and then their mother comes along and cuddles them and gives them hugs and gives them a cookie, to make them feel better? What do you think that child learns about cookies? Cookies are equal to love. I mean, that's the lesson that gets created. And so that's one of the things that we're going to be paying attention to this week, is noticing, why are we eating something? Why? And the way we're going to do that also is by paying attention to our dialogue. Now, some of you already know that you talk to yourselves about food. Some of you have no idea you do this. And some of you think you know, but you're about to find out how much you really do it. Here's what I mean. I want you to pay attention this week to the food timeline. Here's what I mean. There's a moment before you decide what you're going to eat. I want you to notice how you feel in the moment that you decide you're going to eat something. So I'm going to use pizza as an example. So right before you decide to eat pizza, you feel a certain way. Then you make the decision that you're going to eat pizza. Then you feel another way. Then the pizza arrives and you start eating the pizza. And the first bite makes you feel a certain way and taste a certain way. And then the second bite makes you feel a certain way and taste a certain way. And then the third and the fourth and the fifth bite sometimes just disappear and just happen automatically. We don't even really notice them. I want you to notice that. And then when we're finished eating, we feel a certain way. And then 30 minutes later, 40 minutes later, we feel a certain way. And then that night, we sleep a certain way. And then the next morning, we wake up feeling a certain way. And what I want you to do is really pay attention to that. I want you to really notice what emotions you're feeling right before you decide to eat something that you might consider to be less than functional, something you might consider to be junk food. Like, what emotion are you having right before you decide to eat it? How do you feel once you've made the decision to treat yourself? How do you feel when you're eating the first bite? How does it truly taste? How does the second bite taste? The third bite? Do you even notice the fourth bite? Or do you just find yourself stuffing your face? How do you feel when you're done? How do you feel half an hour later? Really slow time down and pay attention to this. What you might begin to think about is this. What if pizza made you feel with the first bite the way you feel an hour later? You see, doesn't sometimes pizza make, here's what I often do when I have a big audience. I'll go, okay, hey everybody, make the sound that you feel when you first order a pizza. And they all go, yeah, we order pizza. That's the sound they feel in their body, right? Then I go, make a sound for the feeling you have an hour after eating the pizza. And what's the sound they make? Right? Well, what if that feeling happened with the first mouthful? How much would you eat? So what we want to do is we want to get really conscious of that whole roller coaster, because the feeling that you feel half an hour later, that feeling is the feeling of the truth. The feeling you have when you make the decision to eat the pizza, that's a lie. It is, right? Oh, I'm a little down. Oh, we ordered a pizza, I'm up. But really? Because an hour after eating the pizza, you're probably not going to feel so good. So what we're going to do is slow time down and really pay attention to what's going on. What we're also going to do is pay attention to our dialogue. Like, really pay attention. Notice that you talk to yourself, because you're going to notice it, because I imagine sometimes it's a little like this. Oh, we should have pizza tonight. I don't know if we really should have pizza tonight. I mean, we could. We haven't had it in a little while, but, it's not the healthiest thing we should be having tonight. Yeah, but we worked so hard. I mean, we could have it. I know we could, but, we've been trying to get better. We've been trying to improve things, right? So I don't think it's such a good idea. Oh, come on. It's one pizza. It's one day. We worked so hard today. Come on. We deserve it. Have you ever had that conversation? Have you ever had a conversation similar to that? Well, this week, what I want you to do is really pay attention to that. Really notice how you talk to yourself. Here's what I want you to notice. You have a food angel. And the food angel is, in a sense, your body angel. It's you. And it's the one that sometimes tries to talk you out of stuff. It's the one that says, well, I don't know if you should be having that much. I don't know if you should be having dessert. Maybe not. And its voice is not very strong sometimes. And then the other voice, that's the food devil. And the food devil has a bunch of split personalities, and we'll talk more about that. But the food devil's got a forceful voice. Come on, just this once. We worked so hard, or we had such a hard day, or the world is unfair to us. We need to have chocolate. Don't worry. I'm not taking away chocolate right now. I may never. We'll see. But in the meantime, what I'm saying to you is, I want you to notice that dialogue because of this. If I introduce you to a salesperson, but I tell you all the techniques that salesperson's going to use to try to sell you a car, then when you get there and you hear the techniques, they're not nearly as effective. So what I want you to do this week is I want you to notice how your food devil sells you junk food, how your food devil sells you non-food. That's the key thing, is to pay attention to that dialogue. So you're paying attention to the whole food emotion roller coaster, and you're paying attention to the dialogue. And that's why this week we have daily videos, because there might be a part of you going right now, oh my God, this is a lot to remember. You don't need to, because the daily videos are going to guide you through the process. So with all of that in mind, we're also going to pay attention to cravings. Yeah, cravings, right? Cravings are kind of interesting. You know, if you think about what cravings are really designed for, what they're designed for is to make sure that we get all the stuff we really need to have. The challenge with cravings is that they evolved in a very different time, right? Our cravings evolved in a time when food was rare, when food was heavily seasonal. So as a result of that, it becomes pretty challenging, because today food is not rare and food is barely ever seasonal anymore. I mean, you can basically buy a banana any day you want, whereas in nature they would have come around, they would have been in season, and then they would have gone out of season. So we have these natural cravings and we have current day realities, and this is pretty fascinating stuff. So I think it's really important to take a look at the difference between actual cravings, like the body actually asking for something, and then the body asking for something because of what's called secondary gain. In other words, it's not a legitimate craving at all. It's a bit like the kid falling down, skinning their knee, somebody gave them a cookie, and for years after that, when they feel a little low, when they're feeling a little low on significance, or they're feeling of connection with their family, or they're not feeling very loved, then boom, a cookie seems to be able to solve the problem. Of course, you know, then a cookie also makes them pretty cuddly too, right? Over time. So what we want to do is take a look at our cravings and look at them really honestly. There are some natural cravings. We clearly crave salt, right? Like, you know, there is a craving for that. And then we crave fat, and we crave sugar. There's a number of things that we naturally crave. The challenge is that some of those cravings are for things that were seasonal. In fact, I would put to you, from an evolution perspective, from a natural selection perspective, that we only evolved cravings for things if two things were in place. If they were nutritionally essential and rare. If they were nutritionally essential and rare, then we developed a craving for them. But if they were nutritionally essential and available all the time, we didn't develop a craving for them. This is why most people don't have a natural inborn craving for dark green leafy vegetables. In fact, I know many people say, yeah, but I really crave my salad. I would suggest to you that you've created that as a habit, not as a natural craving, right? And the reason being is because that food would have been probably pretty readily available on a pretty regular basis, and so it was nutritionally essential, but not rare, and so we didn't need a special message from the body to go hunt it down. But other stuff, like, say, fruit, for example, we crave sugar powerfully. Why? Largely because, frankly, fruit was available for a few days, maybe a few weeks, and then it was gone. And so we needed to make sure that when it was there, we got it. Like, it was available, we go get those calories, get those vitamins, get those minerals while they're there. And so as a consequence, we have a very powerful craving for sweet things because they were nutritionally important to us and they were rare. Add one more thing to it, and that is that fruit has a motivation, if you will, to be eaten. It's the only food that wants to be eaten. Everything else tries to avoid it. Animals run away, they defend themselves. Plants develop all these biochemical defenses to stop themselves from getting eaten. But fruit advertises itself brightly, makes itself basically pre-digested. It's wonderful, and then boom, all of a sudden we have to eat it. It wants us to eat it. So we have a craving for it. The challenge is that we now have a craving for something really sweet, and the food industry knows that, right? And so now they use sugar to appeal to that craving, and now we can satisfy that craving every single day. I really want you to think a little bit about this, because one of the core principles of WildFit is seasonality, right? There's no perfect daily diet. The idea of a recommended daily allowance, as they have in the United States, and other countries have their own version where the government says you should have this much vitamin C this day, this much calcium, this much, and they tell you every day what you should be getting. That's insane. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Nature would never have come along and said, oh, look, here's a perfect day for you. Nature would have said, hey, over the space of this year, here are all the different vitamins and nutrients that are available to you, and over the course of this year, I hope you get enough of them. That's how that would work. And so we have a craving for sweet stuff because fruit was one of those seasonal things. It was nutritionally essential and rare. How about meat, for example? Now, I know some of you may be vegetarian or even vegan or leaning away from meat as a food source. Here's the thing, humans naturally do crave it, and that's why there's so many vegetarian this, vegetarian sausage, vegetarian burger, because at our core instinctual level, we actually do crave it. Here's the thing, we crave it because it was nutritionally essential and rare. It was rare. It required effort to go get it. Like, don't think for a minute hunting wasn't like dangerous. Can you imagine? We put 5, 6, 7, 8 of us together to go hunt mammoths. You don't think the mammoth's going to try to defend itself? Hunting was dangerous, and so we had to have motivation to go do it. Not just hunger, because hunger we could satisfy by eating whatever was around us. What we had to have was a craving for the iron, the complex proteins and amino acids and stuff, and B12 that only comes from that source. And so we have a craving. Think of it this way. Imagine you go to a restaurant, and the restaurant has very strong wild fit principles, and you go in and they only have 2 things on the menu that day. The one is that you can have a stir fry with a side salad. Beautiful stir fry with a side salad. And the other one is you can have a beautiful, fresh, wild caught, maybe it's a bison steak or a salmon steak, assuming you eat animal products, and you have these 2 things on the menu. Well, if you ask the average non-vegetarian which of those things they'll order, 99 times out of 100, they'll order the fish or the steak and the vegetables, not just the vegetables on their own. 99 times out of 100. Why? Because the instinct is to go for the nutritionally dense option. But in nature, that option would not have been on par with the stir fry and the salad, right? Because that option would have required effort. To go get that fish or to go get that meat would have required effort, would have required lots of exertion. And so we required motivation to do it. So now you go to that same group of people and say, hey, you have a choice between this here stir fry and salad and this here steak, salmon, bison, whatever it is, and the side vegetables. Which would you prefer? They're going to go with the side with the steak or what have you. But we go, whoa, you don't know the rules. The rules are the salad you can have right now, and we'll just bring it over to your table. But if you would like to have the steak, if you'd like to have the fish or the meat, well, you have to run around the block 4 times and do 50 push-ups. Right? Because that's what nature would have said to you. Nature would have said, oh, you feel like having a little meat today? Well, go get it. Go get it. It's going to take effort. But with no effort, the craving is answered all the time, right? And so as a result, we end up eating too much of the stuff that we have cravings for that don't require effort for us to go get it. Same thing with fruit. It's available to us all the time right now. Now, we maybe don't eat fruit all the time, but most people eat sugar almost every single day, whether they know it or not. So we're going to pay really close attention to our cravings over the next 2 weeks and for the whole program so that we can really begin to notice the difference between a legitimate body craving and maybe something else, an emotional craving or marketing manipulation and so on. This is really important, and here's why. So I think I may have mentioned to you before that I'm not really a big fan of the expression everything in moderation, because everything in moderation includes health. Right? That's part of everything, in moderation. And would you like to have moderate health? Or would you like to have exceptional health? I mean, that's really clear to me. But here's another one that I'm not a big fan of. People say this to me quite often, especially in the more sort of, new agey, esoteric side of the diet and nutrition world, which I'm a very big fan of. I'm just not a fan of this one thing, and that is this. I just listen to my body. Okay, let's be really clear. You can't do that. Like, I know it sounds wonderful and it feels good, and at times your body tells you the truth. The trouble is these days that the messages that your body evolved to give you evolved in a time when nature governed what was available, right? So your messages are like old SMS or old iMessages that you got from your great-great-great-great-grandfather. And here's what your great-great-great-great-grandfather told you evolutionarily. If food is available, eat it, because it's rare. Oh, and if fruit is available, eat it all, because it's rare. If it tastes sweet, it's good for you, eat it. It's rare and it's good for you. These are the old messages, the old SMS messages that our ancestors have sent us through our DNA. So when somebody says, I just listen to my body, the problem is that the body is giving you a message that's not matched to our current society. And so that's why over the course of this next week, we're really going to pay attention to these cravings and really pay attention to the internal messages. So with all of that, let's recap where we are. First of all, this week you're not going to cut anything out, and I really want to be clear about this. I've done this for thousands of people, and I know that every so often somebody goes, well, I know he said not to cut anything out, but I arrived on this program ready to make some changes, and so I'm not eating this anymore, and I'm not eating this anymore. And besides, last night I ate a ton of it. I binged, so I don't want to eat it anymore. Okay, please listen to me. This program is not about creating temporary change for you over the course of the next couple weeks. This program is about creating lasting, permanent change through improved consciousness of your eating decisions. And so if you really want it to work, please follow the program the way I'm advising you to, and that is not to remove anything this week. If you want something, you should have it. Now, let's talk a little bit more about what that means. If you have previously given something up, let's say you've already been on this journey and you've already, like, say, given up something like wheat. Let's say you gave up wheat. And you anticipate, you think, I'm going to get you to give up wheat at some stage. And you think, well, I already gave it up, so I'm done. I'm not going to have it now. That's fine, unless you want it. Listen carefully. If you want it, have it. If you're using willpower at all to not have the food, then have it. I'm going to give you a really good example. A very good friend of mine, he's actually a very famous author and speaker in the United States, teaching financial investment strategies and so on. Really great guy. And he had used willpower to give up Coca-Cola. He gave it up. Good. You should give up Coca-Cola. He used willpower about 2 years before he did the Wild Fit Challenge. And in this week coming up, he realized he was using willpower to not have Coke. He wanted them. If he went to a dinner or a party and people had Coke there, he'd look at it longingly and he would have this whole conversation and he'd have to talk himself out of it for 2 years. He still wanted it. So because he still wanted it, when he came into this week that you're in now, he had it. And he called me up about Thursday or Friday this week, and he was livid with me. He was like, Eric, I don't know what you've done to me. I'm drinking like 2 Cokes a day. I have no willpower anymore. It's gone. What happened? The willpower was in the angel's hand, but only barely. The devil was pulling on that stick all the time. And all he needed was one little life event, and boom, he would have been back on the Coca-Cola train. Right? That's what would have happened. All he would have needed is for one of his pets to die, or a business deal to go wrong, or something bad to happen. Because if all I had to do is say, hey, if you want it, you should have it, and he started having it, how strong was the willpower? Right? All that happened is when I said, if you want it, you should have it, the stick went over to the devil, boom, he started drinking it. But here's the good news. He's totally free of it today. No desire. Doesn't want it. No part of it. No dialogue. No discussion. Now that seems for some to be a really big and lofty goal, and maybe you don't even believe it's possible. What I'm asking you is just to believe 1% that it's possible. Just believe with me 1%, and on that basis, please don't cut anything out this week, and if you want it, have it, even if you gave it up before. I hope that's really clear. Also, remember that you're adding in 6 to 8 glasses of water. As I said, if you're a bigger person, if you're taller, then maybe they're big glasses. If you're a little on the smaller side, then maybe they're smaller glasses, but 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. And you're going to do your 5-5-5 breathing exercises, and you're going to do them twice a day. And you're going to pay attention to your dialogue. Like, really pay attention. You're going to get in there, and you're going to notice, how are you talking yourself into food? Here's what it's going to be like. Maybe you're going to, do you normally eat pizza? Do you like pizza? Did you give up pizza before, but now you're going to have it this week because I told you to? I don't really care. Here's how the dialogue's going to work. You're going to be like, okay, we're going to have a pizza. Okay, no. We're doing a health program here. We're trying to lose weight or trying to improve our health. We're not going to have the pizza. Yeah, we are, because Eric said we're going to have the pizza. I don't care what Eric said. It's not good for us. I don't want to have the pizza. But Eric said, and I have to win this argument. I have to win. So if you're having that dialogue, you got to eat the food. If the dialogue even starts, if you, like my friend, if you gave up Coca-Cola and you're like, well, does this mean we have to drink Coca-Cola? Well, do you want to? I do. I do every day. You keep talking me out of it. Well, then I think Eric wants us to have it this week. That's how the dialogue should be inside your head. And if you really want to play this full out, here's what I suggest. Take out a notepad, keep it near you, and when that dialogue happens, like when you start debating with yourself about food, write it out. Angel, devil, like a script. Angel says, I don't want to have it. Devil says, oh, come on, we had a really hard day. Angel says, come on, we're gaining weight, we have all these symptoms, I don't want to have it. Devil says, yeah, but Eric said. Angel says, oh, fine. That's what the dialogue should look like this week, but you got to write it out. What I want you to do is notice how you're selling yourself on eating those foods and keep eating them. That's what this week is about. Don't eliminate anything. Add in your water, add in your breathing, and watch carefully how you feel about the food, how you talk to yourself about the food, and which cravings are driving you to eat. You are in for an unbelievably exciting journey. I am thrilled to have you here. Congratulations for completing what would be the longest video of this entire series. See you tomorrow.